Mario Odyssey has some of the best movement in any video game, which leads to the gameplay feeling super smooth and highly addictive. This movement becomes amplified when it comes to speedrunning, and through the advanced movement systems, many amazing tricks have been discovered. In this video, I'm going to be going through my top 10 favorite tricks from the Super Mario Odyssey speedruns, and going through each of them in detail. These tricks range from simple to super advanced, and vary in the amount of time saved, and I'll be going through how to perform each of them if you want to try them for yourself. First up, we have one of the easier ones on this list that I'm sure most of you have already heard of in one way or another. The Dino Skip is probably one of the first ever skips you will learn if you decide to speedrun Mario Odyssey, which is pretty handy as it's not the most complex or advanced glitch to learn and constantly perform. As all this glitch involves is using a trampoline as a dinosaur to skip most of Cascade Kingdom. The trick uses the fact that while in dino form, this trampoline can be used to gain massive height, while keeping forward momentum, which gives us the perfect height to land up on this cutscene trigger for a Madame Brutal fight. This skip saves a massive part of the kingdom, including a long 2D section, and is a cool trick to show off to your friends and to finish Cascade Kingdom in the quickest possible pace. While the last trick manipulated a capture's movement, this trick uses a carefully timed jump to skip the main mechanic of Lost Kingdom, which is Klepto stealing Cappy. By taking a route around Klepto's range, you can defeat him without him taking Cappy, which saves a bunch of time in routing and cutscenes. The first jump on Klepto's skip is quite a tricky one, as you need to first triple jump off this tree, which can be a bit finicky due to how weird the collision is, and then throw Cappy, dive, and dive again, barely making it to the top of this cliff. Once up, just wander around the mountain, collecting a few couple of moons along the way, and make your way down to where Klepto is perched, and simply just run past him to defeat him. You have to be very careful when approaching the bird, as its range is pretty large, so one misstep can cause you to lose Cappy. While in Lost Kingdom, another cool set of things you can do is use these little grabby guys and some slick movement to collect the moon in the cage. And from there, as in the speedrun we only need one more moon, speedrunners will collect this moon under the bridge, which normally you would need a stretchy caterpillar. But by using the fact that collecting a moon resets your cap jump, once the moon's been collected, you can throw your cap and jump back to safety, which is a pretty cool trick that saves having to die here. The next skip takes place in Luncheon Kingdom and involves traveling over this stretch of lava without using any captures. The older and easier method involves using a specific mechanic to reset Mario's cap bounces. By taking damage, it will give you an extra jump on your cap, which you can use to traverse a much greater distance across the lava. By using this mechanic and a set of jumps, you can easily make it across this gap and capture this fork on the other side. The other much faster method takes a much braver approach by using these invisible blocks as a platform. These aren't just random blocks out here in the middle of nowhere, but are actually part of this entire section that raises from the lava when the story moon is collected. What's cool is that these blocks are always here, so by knowing where they are, you can simply just hit them with Cappy and land on them to extend the entire jump. This way is a lot harder than the other trick, but also saves some time, so you'll see top runners go for stuff like this on world record attempts. This is one of the more flashy looking skips on this list, as it allows you to skip climbing up a seemingly flat wall with a bunch of very specific jumps while playing as Bowser. This trick is super hard and doesn't save the most time, only a couple of seconds, but it's just a super cool glitch to watch top level speedrunners perform. In the final section of Mario Odyssey, you take control of Bowser, and within this last part there is a 2D Bowser section you are meant to climb up. But through speedrunners' godlike powers, it was discovered that certain spots along the wall allow Bowser to actually stand and climb a seemingly vertical wall. This trick looks super impressive as it appears that you are just jumping on seemingly nothingness, but it's a super hard one to get the hang of, and stuffing this up will cause massive time loss, which a lot of runners don't want to risk this close to the end. During both Bowser boss fights, speedrunners use a strat called Fast Hats, which allow these fights to be completed much faster as a majority of the attacks are just straight up skipped. During both boss fights, the only way to actually damage Bowser is by using his punching hat to knock him back into the spiny sidewalls. Normally Bowser will throw out a bunch of hats, and once you grab the hat, he will begin jumping around the arena and throwing spiky balls at you. This stage takes quite a bit of time, so speedrunners just opt to skip these parts entirely, by grabbing the hat immediately after Bowser has thrown it. By throwing Cappy right as Bowser throws the cap, Mario will immediately grab Bowser's hat, and you can begin punching him before he even has the chance to jump away. For the times where he throws a lot of hats, it's actually more optimal to just roll into the hats to damage boost through the attack, as the timing is perfect for when he throws his wedding hat. As the same Bowser fight happens twice in an any % run, this fast hat trick saves a bunch of time that you would otherwise waste chasing down Bowser while he jumps around the arena, and is overall quite a quick and easy time save. Snowdram is probably one of the most iconic speedrunning jumps, as it's often seen as one of the hardest tricks to pull off consistently even at a top level. All Snowdram really is a super tight jump from the top of the Odyssey to this ledge, which is normally accessed through a painting. This trick is iconic for being one of the very first difficult trick jumps, and even though not the hardest jump in the game, it's definitely one of the most well known. The actual jump itself involves specifically throwing Cappy at a spot on top of the Odyssey, before rolling into him and maximizing each part with the cap dive, the cap stall, before diving to make it onto this icy ledge. If any of the components of this jump are slightly off, Mario will just completely miss, so if you're trying to learn this one, expect to fail a few times. The Lake Kingdom clip involves clipping out of the map in order to grab 2 moons super quickly. For some strange reason, some walls in Mario Odyssey are just not there if you hit them at certain angles. A couple of these walls are taken advantage of in the any % speedrun, like this one in Snow Kingdom where you can just go straight through the corner of the wall here. Clipping through the wall in Lake Kingdom requires a pretty specific setup, as we also need Cappy to go through, as once clipping, a set of tight jumps are required to barely hit this checkpoint flag above the ledge, which is normally only accessed through a painting. Once the flag is collected, you can simply just swim through the out of bounds water to collect the moon in the tunnel underneath, and then teleport back up to the flag for the second moon. The Mecha Brutal fight is one of the longest fights in the entirety of Super Mario Odyssey, which is why it's fortunate we have a trick that makes the fight go so much faster. The usual way to take out this boss fight is to use these pokey birds to climb the mech when it becomes vulnerable after a series of attacks, and then one at a time you can use the bird to break the glass domes around the Brutals. This takes an extremely long time, not just to go through the cycle of attacks, but also because you can only kill one rabbit at a time. So what speedrunners discovered is that by performing a bunch of somewhat specific jumps and dives, you can make it all the way up to the top of the mech and reach the rabbits before the attacking cycle finishes. And once up the top, you can simply just take out one of the rabbits. Normally when you would break one of the domes, Mario would get launched far off the mech and have to go through another attacking cycle. But through some quick reaction times and clever movement, you can actually make it right back onto the top. It will then try to knock Mario off again, but you can just jump right back on and take out another rabbit and continue to repeat this process. Once 2 rabbits are taken out, the mech will begin running about, which sadly has to be waited out before you can then once again take out the last 2 rabbits, and win this fight, saving up to several minutes by using this strat. Out of every trick in this video, this one hands down saves the most time, as thanks to this one jump, you can skip an entire platforming gauntlet, which is meant to be like the final challenge of the game, before the big battle with Bowser. Thanks to this jump, a massive amount of time can be saved, as completing the entire move cave can take many minutes, as well as the final boss at the end taking up a bunch of time as well. The skip is only possible thanks to the super low gravity in Moon Kingdom, which gives Mario jump much more height, and weird wall jump collision with these 2 walls here. There is also a much harder method that only the top level speedrunners have been using, which instead of jumping to the other wall, they just do a pixel perfect dive to barely make it up this ledge here. So if you do want to try one, the first one is much easier to learn and perform consistently. To gain as much height as possible, first a ground pound is done on top of the Shinx's head, then a cap bounce at the peak of the jump. Now the final part is the hardest, as Mario needs to be lined up with a very specific part of the wall, somewhere around here, as it's very specific to be able to wall jump off this wall here into the sidewall. The reason this works is because of the slight angle at this point in the wall. The game thinks Mario is just doing a normal wall jump between 2 opposite walls, and because of this it then allows us to do a second wall jump at the perpendicular wall, which gives us enough height to clear the wall and continue onto the Bowser fight. My personal favourite trick has to be Nut Clip. Nut Clip is a very precise out-of-bounds skip in Wooded Kingdom that can only be attempted once per save file. This is due to the fact that by using this moon and a precise jump, it will actually clip Mario back into the wall and allow you to jump over to this destructible wall to collect another moon and continue up the Steam Gardens. The timing on when and where you collect the moon is quite specific, as the moon needs to be at the right height and Mario needs to jump at the right time. The special thing with this trick is that it can only be attempted once per save file, as if you collect the moon you won't be able to try it ever again on the save save file, so it's a very high risk, high reward trick. Obviously, speedrunners are able to consistently get it through specific timing methods and well-timed jumps. Once Mario is clipped inside the wall, you can actually collect another moon out of bounds, which is the moon within this destructible rock. Once collected, all it takes to get back in bounds is to just jump through the floor and to continue grabbing moons around the kingdom. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe even learned a trick or two. If you enjoy glitches and speedruns, check out this other video on screen that goes into Breath of the Wild speedrunning glitches.